Coach, this was absolutely a ball game at halftime. Idaho was making a ton of shots, but you clearly were able to wear them down in the second half. How are you able to do that?
Well, I just thought, we kind of let them get a little bit too free on the perimeter in the first half. We tightened up our urgency, I thought, with our three-point defense and just awareness. And I thought our length really started to bother them. I think we forced 19 turnovers. And then offensively, I thought we really executed some stuff that was able to give us some really good looks at the basket.
12 steals in those 19 turnovers, so a lot to be said about the defense. There's so much communication that's necessary when you're switching so many things. So how do you feel like your team did in that regard?
They did good. I thought the switching was good. We made a couple adjustments to not switch a couple of things there later in the game, but I think just our ability to switch up our defenses is something that we want to keep investing time in, which we did tonight probably more than we have in any other game. So we'll hopefully be able to learn from that and use it more moving forward.
Fouss is such a soft-spoken, huge force down low. What did you see from him on offense today that allowed him to find so much success?
Well, first of all, even before that, there was a time where we drew something up in the timeout. He did not execute it. I took him out of the game, talked to him briefly. He sat down for a minute, came right back in, and then went on a tear. So I was really just happy with how he kind of handled that, first of all. And then in terms of what he did, just scoring the basketball, he's a tough guy to play one-on-one coverage against. And so, when you have a guy that you can feel good throwing it down there to, something good's going to happen. I think as a coach, it gives you a lot of confidence. I thought I really liked how happy our guys were for him, trying to give him the ball. And once he scored, I thought that just gave us a lot of good juju going on down there.
How do you score the basketball at such an efficient rate when you are a quote-unquote undersized big like Fouss?
Just angles, man. He's vertically he's undersized, but he's so big and strong. He gets that shoulder on you and knocks you off your base, and his touch is incredible. I think that's probably the thing that is the most impressive is his touch. It's hard to teach that. It's kind of a natural thing, but I thought the guys did a good job of kind of getting him the ball in his spots.
Richie Saunders seemed to give your team a spark, specifically on defense when things were a little hairy in the first half and early in the second half. What does Richie and his energy mean to this team?
It means everything. He's kind of the lifeblood of our team. It's hard not to like him. It's hard not to root for him. I would hate playing against him at the same time. But yeah, man, he's a guy that just he's always on. You don't ever have to rev him up. You don't ever have to really tell him all that much. He knows what to do, and he goes out there and does it at a high level.
How do you get in that type of condition? I think a lot of people are asking, how does Richie stay in that good of shape in a game like this?
I don't know, but I need to use some of his secret sauce. But he cares about his body. He takes care of himself. He's just kind of a professional as it relates to how mature he is with his body. A lot of guys aren't like that. He's always in the training room and a cold tub, and so he's just keeps himself ready to go.
Told me at halftime it felt like he'd missed a million free throws. It was 10, but I get the point. How do you address something like that moving forward?
You just got to put the time in. There's no secret sauce to it. You got to step up there, put the time in, know that it's going to go in. I think the mental side is a huge part of that, but there's no I think secret. You got to put the time in, and you got to step up and knock them down.
Back at the desk, they're just talking about how Ager had a quiet performance, but still has 16 points and 7 assists. What did you see from him today that you liked in his fourth game as a BYU Cougar?
Really the thing I don't think has been talked about enough is he's shooting the heck out of the ball from three. Even for me, that was something coming in where, I thought I had a lot of question marks there, and he's definitely answered those questions. I think the big thing for him is just continuing to take the right shots, and then, from a point guard perspective, especially without Dallin out there, he's a guy that just calms us down. And I think when Dallin gets back, it'll be even better where you're going to have guys out there at the same time and then be able to kind of stagger those guys will be a good look for our group.
You and I have talked a lot about the opportunities for guys like Elijah Crawford and Dawson Baker, guys coming off the bench because Dallin is out and they have more minutes. What did you see in the development of Elijah today? Because I saw you get super fired up when he had a couple of steals in a row.
Yeah, he's a guy that's, everybody wants to play the whole game, and he's chomping at the bit, and he's got to go out there and, do his job when he's out there in terms of getting the ball to the paint, in terms of guarding, like you said. That's what he can do for us. He can heat guys up, he can get under the skin of other, ball handlers. And so when he embraces that role, he's really effective for us.
And obviously, people are concerned about Bakeda. I know it's early. What can you tell us about the early prognosis about what he's dealing with?
Yeah, not much. I mean, they're looking at him, the ankle. So hopefully it wasn't too bad. We got it. Luckily, we have a decent amount of time off here in the next week, essentially, where he can hopefully get right. And obviously, he's a huge part of what we do.
What are you hoping to shore up now that you do have a little bit of time off?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff defensively that we want to continue to get right, stamp off on. Like I said, tonight, we were mixing up our coverages a lot. We want to be able to do that more on the fly. So it'll be that. I think situationally, they're 2-for-1s, based on out-of-bounds defense, into-game scenarios. I mean, the list goes on forever, but we're going to be really calculated with what we spend this next week working on.
Yeah, interesting to watch the last minute of the first half specifically, because those are the situations you're talking about. Like, what do we do to get the best shots and generate the most shots in that final minute? So what did you have drawn up there, and what did you see?
Well, I mean, Akash, my analytics guy, and Chris Burgess and I spent a lot of time. It's a lot different in college than the pros as far as 2-for-1s, because one, it only happens basically once at the end of the half, whereas in the NBA it happens 4 different times essentially. And then the time difference, it sounds easy, but it's like a super big math equation. So getting more comfortable with, I thought tonight, I know we actually executed it to perfection. We got the shot when we wanted. We called a timeout to make sure that they couldn't run the clock out. And then we ended up getting the last shot, even though Cannon missed that three. Was really happy with the execution. That's something that we recently kind of dropped on our guys. And that's high-level stuff, especially for young guys. So, those are winning on the margins, and we'll work on stuff like that.
You recently had an opportunity to catch up with some of your NBA friends, the Phoenix Suns. They're in town against the Jazz. What's the early feedback from those guys on how you're coaching?
Man, it was just good to see those guys. Everybody, a couple of them knew what we were doing. We're happy with some of the wins we've got. But honestly, it was cool. Honestly, just as a reminder of just good people, man. Like, in this profession, you're just with your players and coaches all the time, and just reminded of the relationships, and it was really good to see a lot of different people.
Were you happy to not get on another plane and drive home that night?
I was. Yeah, my bed was extra comfortable that night for sure.
Coach, we'll finish with this. Going back to Ager, he seems to do something that makes the crowd go, ooh, every game. Tonight it was a between-the-legs pass. At one point, threading the needle in the first half. How do you develop that at his size, that vision?
I think it's just innately in him. He just has a great feel for the game. I'm just glad we're able to put him in positions where he can do what he does, and just kind of let his natural talent take shape. And, I think our guys are figuring out, hey, if I'm in the right spot, I'm going to get the ball, and that's good to see.
I think there's somewhere in the footage at Clayton State something that you've done like that in the past. We're going to find it if it's there.
That's deep in the archives. Good luck.
Coach, congratulations on getting to 4-0. Thanks.
Thank you.